It all started on a quiet Saturday morning, the kind where you're just trying to enjoy breakfast with your family and not think about the never-ending drama in the neighborhood. But peace doesn't last long when you live next to an HOA Karen. You know the type, always peeking through the blinds, measuring your grass with a ruler, and acting like she owns the entire block. But this time, she crossed a serious line. Out of nowhere, CPS showed up at our door. We were stunned. No warning, no explanation, just questions about our kids and wild claims that didn't make any sense. At first, we were confused, even scared. What kind of person would make up lies like that? But then it hit us. This had Karen written all over it. Apparently, she didn't like that our kids were playing outside too loudly, or maybe she just needed something to complain about. So she called CPS, hoping to teach us a lesson. What she didn't know, my wife, yeah, the one she tried to target, is actually the regional director of CPS. You can imagine how fast things unraveled after that. But trust me, it gets even crazier. What happened next turned our whole neighborhood upside down. And Karen? Well, let's just say she never saw it coming. So here's the part that really makes this whole thing unbelievable. Karen didn't just make one call, she went all out. She filed a full report with completely made-up details, claiming our kids were being neglected, and said she had witnessed things that never even happened. The woman literally told CPS that we left our toddlers outside alone for hours with no supervision. Meanwhile, I was in the yard with them the entire time, probably within 10 feet. The thing is, she didn't know anything about us. We've lived here for 3 years, but Karen's only recently taken over the HOA board, and ever since, it's been one complaint after another. Our fence was too tall, our garbage cans were too visible, and apparently, our kids' laughter was a public disturbance. I wish I was making this up. She had no clue my wife worked at CPS, let alone that she oversaw the entire regional office. Of course, my wife couldn't just step in right away. It had to be handled by protocol. But once she saw the report and recognized the bogus claims, she knew exactly what was going on. That's when things started getting messy. Calls were made, names were flagged, and suddenly, Karen found herself in the middle of something way bigger than she ever expected. After the report landed on my wife's desk, things started to move behind the scenes, quietly but fast. She couldn't just shut it down, even though she knew the whole thing was a setup. CPS has rules for a reason, and she had to follow them like anyone else. So a different team was assigned to review the complaint, and they started looking into Karen's claims. That's when the real cracks started to show. Her timeline didn't add up. Her witness statements kept changing. And then it came out. Karen had tried the same thing with another family 2 streets over last year, but that case didn't go anywhere either. Meanwhile, word started to spread through the neighborhood. People were quietly talking. One of our neighbors told me Karen had knocked on their door a few weeks ago, fishing for dirt on us. She even showed them photos. Grainy, zoomed-in pictures of our backyard, trying to make it seem like our kids were in danger. That's when it hit me. This wasn't just about us. Karen was using her HOA position to control everyone. It was like she saw herself as the neighborhood sheriff, and anyone who didn't play by her rules became a target. But here's a twist. Someone else had been watching Karen too, and they were about to speak up. That's when everything started boiling over. One evening, we got a knock at the door, not CPS this time, but a neighbor named Sam. We didn't know him that well, just a friendly wave here and there. But now he looked tense, almost nervous. He stepped inside and lowered his voice. "I think you need to see something," he said. Sam pulled out his phone and showed us a video, grainy, recorded from his upstairs window. It was Karen, standing outside our backyard with her phone out, zooming in and narrating like she was filming some kind of documentary. Except everything she was saying was false. She was trying to make it look like our kids were alone, even though I was literally just off screen, standing by the grill. Turns out, Sam had seen her creeping around other people's yards too, filming and snapping photos when no one was looking. He kept quiet until now, but when he heard what she'd done to us, he knew he had to speak up. He wasn't the only one either. More neighbors started coming forward, stories of fines for made-up violations, threats of towing cars for parking in their own driveways, and even someone getting reported for having too many guests at a birthday party. It was clear now, this wasn't just a petty neighbor. This was someone who'd let power go to her head, and she was about to face the consequences. Just when we thought the pressure was finally closing in on Karen, something happened that threw us completely off. My wife got a call, not from her office, but from someone higher up, the state CPS office. They had received an anonymous complaint claiming that she was abusing her authority to cover up a real investigation. It was clear someone was trying to flip the whole situation back on us. We were being set up, again. This time, it felt more serious. This wasn't just some fake HOA report. It had made its way into the system at a level that could affect my wife's career. Her reputation, everything she'd worked for, was now on the line. Whoever filed that complaint knew what they were doing. It wasn't sloppy like Karen's earlier lies. This was smart, calculated, and it meant someone was helping her, or at least feeding her advice. That's when the second twist hit. One of the board members on the HOA, a guy named Greg, who always seemed quiet and easygoing, suddenly resigned without warning. Just vanished from the group chat, no email, nothing. A few days later, my wife noticed something strange. His name showed up on internal communications from the CPS call logs. Turns out, Greg used to work as a low-level intake coordinator, and he still had friends on the inside. Whatever this was, it went deeper than we thought. With the CPS complaint now under investigation and Greg suddenly disappearing, we knew we were running out of time to set the record straight. My wife filed an official inquiry through the state office, requesting all documents tied to the anonymous tip. When the records came back, there it was, an email linked to a personal account, but with a digital fingerprint tracing back to Greg's old work login. He'd used backdoor access to plant the complaint, hoping it would look like an outside source. But he made a mistake. He used the same device tied to his HOA email. Armed with that evidence, my wife took it straight to her leadership team. Once they saw the full paper trail, including the earlier false report from Karen, the video footage from Sam, and Greg's role in helping her, they escalated it to legal. That same week, CPS formally cleared us and launched a joint investigation into misuse of authority within HOA-led complaints. Karen was removed from the board immediately, and Greg, he was served with a cease and desist, and likely faces charges for impersonating a state worker. The neighborhood finally started breathing again. People were speaking freely. Kids were outside without whispers or judgment. We thought it was over. But here's the twist. Just a few days later, we got a letter in the mail. No return address. Inside was a photo of our house, taken at night. We stood there staring at the photo, hearts pounding. It was our house, clearly taken from the street late at night. No note, no message, just the image. At first, we were shaken. Was this someone trying to intimidate us? Another neighbor secretly siding with Karen and Greg? But as we looked closer, we realized the photo wasn't new. The seasonal decorations on our porch were from months ago. It was a scare tactic, one last desperate move. We handed it over to the legal team, and they flagged it as part of the ongoing investigation. But honestly, we weren't scared anymore. After everything we'd been through, we realized how powerful truth can be. Karen had used her position to manipulate and bully people, and Greg had tried to twist the system from the inside. But in the end, it didn't work. Our community saw the truth. The support we got afterward, from neighbors who once stayed silent, was the real win. Now, life's gone back to normal. Our kids are outside laughing again. No one's watching us from behind the blinds. And every time we drive past the old HOA bulletin board, we're reminded that even the biggest drama can't stand up to a united neighborhood and a little sunlight.